All right. Good morning, everyone. I'm
Morning.
sure it will be another interesting topic for a lot of marketers. This is what makes a story very good because story would always have the intro, the beginning, the middle, and the end. And as a marketer, I always like interesting stories, and today we will actually have very interesting stories to share with you. So to start with, the topic that we're going to discuss today is very hot topic for marketers because this is about engaging audiences. And it's not just engaging, actually. We want to transcend that and already proceed from engaging to enchantment. And this is by using the power of immersive storytelling. So with me is Rachid Elameri.
Thank you, everyone. I think we had earlier discussion about how we can use the data and leverage the data in order to engage the audience. Today, we want to talk more about the immersive part of it. How can you make your storytelling more immersive? Because by doing that, you can drive the customer more to your brand. You can connect the customers to your brand. And that's what we will talk to you about today.
Yes, that's correct. And we'd like to make this interesting, just like the other two sessions that we have had. This time we're going to do it old school. We want to do it the way that the two sessions have done it, but we'd like to take you back to the old school way of doing it. So we're going to flash to you 5 statements this morning, just very easy statements. I'm sure you will be, it's like a top of your head thing. But we would like to ask you the question, are these statements fact or myth? Okay, so let's proceed with the first statement. Would like you to really look into this and, take out your thinking caps. So we're saying how to create memorable experiences using immersive storytelling. The statement is, the higher the reviews of the experience, the more memorable the experience will be for customers. I repeat, the statement is, the higher the reviews of the experience, the more memorable the experience will be for customers. Who thinks that this statement is a fact? Please raise your hands. Okay. Do you see that, Rachid?
Yes.
Okay, we have a few hands out there. Who amongst you thinks this is actually a myth? A show of hands, please. Okay, Rachid?
Fantastic. I think it's a very interesting observation from the audience. And you're right, it's a myth. In reality, it is necessary to have that great reviews. It's not sufficient. You can have a fantastic experience, you can have fantastic activation, but still it will not be memorable. Your customers will go in, they will have a good time, they will leave, they will forget you the moment they are in their career. What you are trying to do here is that you need to make sure that what is necessary is there. So you need to make sure that you have the perfect element of that experience. However, you need to be thinking about at which moment I'm giving the audiences the spike of dopamine. Across that experience, imagine we are having a 1-hour activation and the consumers are walking through it. At which moment of time I need to make sure that people just say, wow, that's the wow effect. That's the moment I remember. We have tried it many, many times in many experiences. I'll share with you a few very cool examples of how we have done this. In one of our experiences, we're working with an IP. We had people pass through the door, and in that moment, there is someone who will take a picture of them, right? As you will do in any experience. And then in room number 3, when they are going normally and they forgot about that starting point, they will be in kind of a palace room with a queen. And they will be looking at the pictures, and one of the pictures on the wall will be theirs. And the way we did that, we took that, we transformed that into a digital kind of panel that we are able to change every time, and people discover themselves in that room. And then they feel really immersed into that experience. Another example we did here in Dubai, so we have an experience in a SEHA, and we wanted to make sure that people engage more with the audience. And even though it was a perfect experience, we needed that moment in which the audiences feel that they are part of real day experiences. A murder mystery where like 50 people will come with the actors and they will live with them for an hour and a half and they will engage with them trying to solve the murder. And what we did is within an hour of that experience, we cut the light off and it goes black dark, and there is a scene that is delivered by the actors in the dark. That moment is so scary and not scary because it's acting, but you cannot go out of the experience not memorizing that moment. So it's quite an important element when you try to create memorable experiences, not to think of a fantastic, well-rated, perfectly run across the globe. You need to finish that, and then you need to think to yourself, at which moment I'm giving them the spike of dopamine. And it needs to be a very dedicated decision. You need to sit there and say, okay, this is the moment that I'm using to really get that memory, that spike in dopamine in someone's mind. Maybe you can give us also from your experience, from your industry, how we can do that.
Yes, so just for information of the audience, Rachid is really into events and immersive experiences. In fact, when I was listening to him on the first day of the conference, it was like amazing and eye-opening to actually understand that there are a lot of campaigns out there that use immersive experience, because I am very traditional marketer, to be honest with you, because a lot of the industries that I have, the brands that I've handled are more into the ATLs and the BTLs, the above the line, below the lines. And to actually have the experiential marketing defined in a different way is something that is breakthrough for a lot of brands in my industry, right? So in healthcare, for example, having reviews are very important because we're medical. And in medical, it's essential that whenever people have surgeries, for example, they need high treatment, high scales of treatment, for example, for a condition that you cannot just, get, or you cannot just be treated anywhere else. Reviews are very important for us, right? Because, for example, a person can have some problems in cancer, right? Having a cancer. And he is set to get a doctor who would be able to help him cure the condition. So you don't just go to any doctor and ask, can you cure my disease, right? You really have to research, really have to look deeper into, Google it and, understand who's the best doctor for cancer or oncology. Right? And so review is very important for us. But I think over the years, what we need to do also in healthcare is to really kind of evaluate the kind of memory that we leave with the patients, and not just use the traditional Google review or Facebook review, because that doesn't really capture the essence of the brand. So I think learning from what you have said, it's high time for us to kind of kick in and kind of reinvent the way that we deliver healthcare in terms of patient experience. But I'll go to that in a more detail later on, because I will also share with you some brand stories actually that were successful in kind of stepping out of the box and giving a different immersive storytelling for the brand. So let's go to number 2. Again, please take out your thinking caps and think with me. Is this a fact or a myth? Immersive storytelling does not necessarily involve creating a compelling narrative that captures the essence of the brand. I repeat, immersive storytelling does not necessarily involve creating a compelling narrative that captures the essence of the brand. Is this a fact or a myth? I'd like to see a show of hands who think this is a fact. Okay. And I'd like to see a show of hands who think this is a myth. All right. So the correct answer is actually that this is a myth. Okay. When we do storytelling, we have to start with the brand narrative, right? We have to make sure that we understand what are we communicating, the brand values, the brand purpose, the brand story, so to speak. Because if you're not clear as a marketer, if you are not clear of what you're communicating, then you will not be able to consistently communicate that across different channels. Then you would lose the interest of the audience, because then you will be using one communication or one story in one point, and then another goes another story. So it's very important. In fact, this is the first thing that you have to have in your brand story. You should have a compelling narrative that captures the essence of the brand. Right? That's very important. Let me give you an example. If we go in healthcare, I've had managed Rachid a brand in the past that actually tells a story of two important foundations in healthcare. One is to actually have a clinical excellence, and this is given in any medical company. If you're a hospital, then you are expected to be clinically excellent, right? But to go further the extra mile, the brand wants to tell a story of how we actually give personalized care, personalized world-class care to all our patients. When we talk about world-class care, it's like having a hospital and hotel combined in one experience. So what we did is to have this immersive storytelling narrative in the whole campaign. We make sure that at the onset, when the patient goes right in front of the parking lot, we have a valet service to offer them. When they go inside the hospital, we have a concierge service to welcome them. When they sit down in the lounge, we make sure that we have an Arabic coffee staff to actually give them coffee, offer them coffee or dates or anything that will make their experience different, right? It's like really a hotel. And then when they go inside the clinics, we have VIP lounges, right? That welcomes them. It's not the usual, kind of chairs that you see in a hospital. It's more like a lounge where they can actually go and access Wi-Fi for free. We have huge TVs. We have sofas, right? And then when, for instance, a mother delivers inside the hospital, we actually give them a limousine ride back home, right? So this is actually showing that the brand, who is not just clinically excellent, because we have excellent doctors, right? These are doctors who are sought after around the world for their specialties. But we also make sure that their experience of the brand is much more than just clinical excellence. We are actually giving them a 5-star, experience of the brand. So I think this is what we're saying. Audience engagement is actually starting from the compelling narrative. If you have that brand story, brand narrative that says, we are giving you the best clinical care, but we are also going to extend to you a 5-star world-class service, then this is the brand for you, right? So this is where you have the audience engagement at every point of the customer touch point. Do you have any examples, Rachid?
Yeah, I think we can complement what you have said and look at it from your angle and the audiences you are trying to engage. Building a compelling narrative, what Joanna did, it's fantastic. We will all try to do that. I think what is a humbling experience, if you really believe in that and you want to do it, is ask yourself, during the journey of that customer that I have with my brand as a marketer, do I give them a chance to revert back to me and to tell me how they think about the experience? Because what is engagement? Engagement is a two-way exercise. I'm delivering a service for you, I'm communicating my brand, I'm giving you access to a service, to a product, and most of the time we try to do the best we can, but we do it and we try to look for engagement, but we didn't even give that customer the moment to tell us if he was engaged. How would he be engaged if you are not even willing to accept the fact? And it's humbling because a lot of time we will do something amazing at the start and people will say, well, we didn't like it. And you need to accept that. And to accept that, you need to be willing to get that review. For us, reviews are extremely important. And we do that for every experience live during the event, because we want to understand how people are interacting and engaging with us. And if there is something similar to what you said across that journey, 5 elements, if there is one element where people are not happy with, or the engagement is lower, we will take that feedback and we will work on it overnight to make sure that in the morning, it's a new version of it that people like. So a lot of the experiences we deliver, a lot of time people will go the first time and they come a month later, it was like, Rachid, it's completely different. I was like, it's for a reason. We have been listening and engaging with those customers a lot. I worked in customer service myself answering customer requests because we wanted to understand how people will interact with those. Another thing we did that's very funny, and a lot of partner will question this. When we launched Fever, we created a 24/7 customer service in more than 10 languages. So if you call us now, we answer in Arabic, English, Spanish, German, French. And a lot of people will question us, like, why are you doing that? The cost to do that is extremely expensive. But the reason we do that is because when you announce a new concept that have never heard of before, like a new immersive story, a lot of people call. Like, they go like, who is this person? Who is this viewer? They will call. And when someone answers them in Arabic, telling them this is the experience, it will be in this place, you can bring your kid below 8 years old, there will be a parking this side, that person feels that he has been engaged before even he comes through the door. So I think one element to add to the fantastic kind of story, that example that Joanna shared, is just like when you design your own stories, your own engagements, your own experiences, think of that question, is there a moment during this where I'm letting my audience speaks to me? If not, you are doing it blind. And maybe you are a genius and you will get it right, but most probably you will not. So that's, I think, a very good point to take for this second.
That's a very good point, Rachid. Thank you so much. We'll tell the brand to do that. Thank you so much. Okay, now the third statement that we would like you to actually, again, think about is this. If you treat your customers well, they will return again and again. If you treat your customers well, they will return again and again. Do you think, is this a fact or a myth? A show of hands for fact. And if you think it's a myth, raise your hand. Okay, cool. Rachid?
Yeah, I love this one because I start always with concrete examples. It makes a lot of sense, right? I treat my customers well, they will be back again and again. And then a month later, no one threw out the door, and I was like, what the hell did I do? Right? I engaged them, they are happy. Ask yourself the question. You can go to a Rolex shop, they can treat you very, very well, but I'm not sure you can afford a Rolex every week. You're not going to do it there again. So when we try to engage our customers, we engage them because we are based on what we call a product market fit, right? And we should not forget that word, right? The product market fit should be there. What does it mean? Is that if you want your customers to come back, if you want to retain them, you need to make sure that the product or the service or the brand you are presenting fits that customers. And if you are selling a product or a service, the pricing is very important. If you are just doing an activation or engagement, the location is important. The timing is important. Like a lot of time, I've seen, let's take an example. We had an activation for families here in Dubai, for very young kids, okay? And you see the organizers like, it's going to be starting at, I don't know, 1 p.m. Someone who have 2 kids, I was like, 1 p.m. is nap time. There is no way the parents are out on the street between 1 and 3, right? So what happened is that a lot of time you create something amazing, but you don't have the product market fit for it. So if you want your customer to come back, the question that you need to ask yourself, how much of all of the elements that I have in that experience are matching what my customer wants? Is it the right time? Is it the right location? Is it the right pricing? Is it the right format? Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. In order to be able to do that, we went through a lens of like using data and assessing this. So what we did is that we asked people to register their interest for a certain experience, for a certain event, before we even launch the event. Those people are the customer that's really willing to go. When we open an experience, we open for those people first, and we let them get the first seat, first access, early bird, etc., etc. But that's not what is important for us. What matters for us is the delta. That's where the magic is. Think about it this way. What interests us is those who registered and said we are interested, but did not go or did not buy. That's the people we contact, and you say, what happened? You said you were interested 3 weeks ago. And you will be surprised how many times they feel like, oh my God, someone contacted me, you can believe it. It's far away from us. We cannot do it. Like, it's over the weekend through Sharjah, there is so much traffic, it's impossible for us to be there. And then you know, like, it was a bad decision on the location. Or they will tell you, but it's Eid break and everyone is leaving. Or. And a lot of time, you can think as much as you want of the customers, they know better. They will tell you things that you have never heard. Correct, Joanna? You ask them and it comes up with like, holy, and sometimes you feel stupid, like, holy, why you didn't think of it? But in reality, be humble enough
to accept.
Go ask them and take that information. Don't focus on those who already made the call. Those are already there. Ask those who were interested but didn't do the call. And then you will find something fascinating as an insight.
And not only that, those people who actually is neither excited nor, they feel not to engage, these are passive customers, right? And I think in marketing, I always say that those are the kind of customers that are more dangerous. Not the ones who extremely hate your brand or the ones who love your brand, but those who are passive, because these are the ones who are easily swayed to kind of go in either way. So I think, we have to also take a careful look of those customer segments, because maybe that is also a chance for your brand to kind of grow your share. Because there are those who are, they are there because you probably receive something from your brand, like probably a free gift item or a free, ride to this, to this event. But really, we would want to have more of the ambassadors, or, we would rather actually take a small percentage of those who don't like their brand, but never have those in the passive, middle ground segment. I think for a lot of brands in healthcare, one of the things that is very important for us, and I did not emphasize this earlier, is really, yes, the reviews are important, right? But it is not really a proactive approach, as you suggested earlier, but the reviews that actually come organically. So we have this experience in healthcare where there are reviews of patients who are not really satisfied with our services. And the thing is, a lot of them would not say it to your face. They would actually write it on social media. And the thing is, our executives are very much looking at the Google reviews. So the moment that there are bad reviews happening on social media, expect a call from the CEO saying, kill that. And when the CEO says kill that, doesn't mean that you have to kill the patient. What we meant is resolve that. Okay, so I remember there's one patient, he was in the inpatient room. And the thing is, he's not happy with everything that happened in the inpatient room. He's saying that, the housekeeping is not cleaning the room well. He is, not given a sort of basket that everybody else gets. He is not attended to by the nurse, So he has all these complaints. But the thing is, he was passive. He was not airing it out to us. So we were so surprised when he wrote all these things on social media, right? On Google review. And then the CEO saw it and say, what's happening? Who is this patient? Please go to him, understand what's the pain point, solve it, and I want this customer to be a brand ambassador. Right? So what the management is actually trying to tell us as marketers and as operations also is to convert those who doesn't like your brand to become your brand ambassadors, however way you would do it. Because it's part of the storytelling, actually, later on in the narrative, that we are converting our not so like the bashers of the brand into brand ambassadors. So how do we do that? We actually went to the room, asked him, what do you need? How can we improve this? Do you need, more? Do we need to give you, 2 baskets of fruits? Do you need housekeeping to be there, every 2 hours, to clean your room? So we kind of give them the extra mile because we wanted to maintain that brand story. And I think that's very important. And the moment that we gave him the extra mile, you know what? Without us telling him to actually remove his Google review, he changed the Google review from a very bad review to a very positive review. And I think that's the power of making sure that you tell your brand very consistently, and not only that, to actually get the feedback. And if you have these negative stories, you have to convert it. I don't know if you're aware, Rachid, but a lot of the social media marketers, digital marketers, are actually very good in pushing reviews down, the negative ones, by probably adding positive reviews that are kind of fake, but Google can actually trace that, right? But what we're saying is, reviews, very important. Let us not overlook on that part, but we have to create that experience for them. Let's not just do it the fake way, an authentic way of just pushing the reviews down, but we really have to give them that immersive brand experience. Yeah. So the next statement, and this is the 4th of the 5th statements, would like to again ask you, defining a constant narrative across all channels and customer touch points is a key ingredient in immersive storytelling. Again, do you think, is this a fact or a myth? Defining a constant narrative across all channels and customer touch points is a key ingredient in immersive storytelling. Do you think, is this a fact or a myth? A fact? Please raise your hands. Okay. Do you think, is this a myth? A show of hands, please. Okay. So, Rachid, this is actually, when we were reviewing this, we think that this is actually a fact, okay? We need to define, just like what I said earlier, the brand narrative, the compelling story, is actually required for us to define a constant narrative across all channels. See, some brands are very good, say for example, face-to-face, in person, but they're not good with online experiences. There are some who are very good in online experiences, but are not really good with face-to-face, in-person experiences. So in order for us to create a very strong brand that actually resonates and connects with the audience, we have to make sure that we are consistently telling the same stories across different channels. And I think Rachid can give a lot of examples on this particular extent.
Absolutely. I'll talk about something completely different out of our business because it's very relevant. How many of you have engaged on social media, for example, with our Secret Dubai brand? Okay. So if you have not, try to go to Instagram, for example, and search for Secret Dubai. Or go to the website, secretdubai.co, or go to our Facebook or one of our channels. What we created, and Secret Dubai is just one brand out of the Secret Media Network. So there is Secret San Francisco, Secret LA, Paris Secret, Madrid Secreto, and all of those brands. There is more than 150 secrets around the world in every city. Now, how can you make sure that there is a unique brand identity when you are running a digital media that come across all of this? Our unique brand identity all across the world is being hyper-local, being the insider of the city. So we will never communicate about a city from another city. We have local editors that will tell you what is cool in the city, what just opened yesterday that you need to go and see. Our own videographer, our own content creator, and they'll go film that, take a picture, taste the food, and tell you what's the cool plate you need to eat. It's really time-consuming, it's a lot of effort, but across the globe, when someone engages with one secret, if someone in France, when they engage with Paris Secret, whenever they land, if they land in Seoul, they will go to Secret Seoul. Because they know, look, I'm new in the city, I want to understand what's happening, I'm going to check that city. And a lot of time, there is easier way to get clicks and views than talking about the coolest new restaurant opening, right? If you just cover the news and, I don't know, the Eid holidays and whatever, you will get a lot more coverage and a lot of people knew it. However, if you want to build that brand identity, Joanna, you need to stick to your brand. If we are talking about the secret, cool, best places, events, experiences, restaurants that you want to visit in your city, then that should be your brand. And if there is a Eid holiday announced, you let people discover that information in another outlet. There is 1,000 ways to do it, right? True, if you cover it in that second, millions of people will click on that, and maybe you'll get a higher click rate. But on the long term, it will dilute your brand. Because now when people know what Secret Dubai is, they come to us for a certain service and product and offering. And we give them that product. And that's why we are the highest digital media around the world in terms of engagement. Because those people are interested in one very particular niche of topics, and that's the topic we cover. And that's why they are engaging with them. Because when we show them something that is cool in Dubai, yesterday we were talking about a pop-up restaurant in GBR, a lot of people say, okay, this is cool. This weekend, I'm going to GBR, I'm going to try this new Chinese pop-up restaurant, right? That's kind of this unique brand identity, and you need to stick with it. You need to insist on it. You need to make sure that people understand that you cannot sacrifice short-term KPIs
For long term.
for long. You need to really make sure that you have that long-term, that true north, that unique brand identity very, very clear. I don't know if the same thing for you in the hospital and the medical industry.
That's a very good example, Rashid, because there was one brand that I was handling in healthcare, and it all started with the brand archetype, right? We are trying to figure out: are we heroes? Are we sages? Are we rebels? Are we the explorers? Right? The brand archetype is very important because it defines your brand personality. And this is actually where it all starts. So when we understood, okay, in this case, we will be a brand hero, means those who need our help, we will be there to actually save them. Those who have conditions, certain conditions, hard to treat conditions, we are here to actually deliver that treatment that they need, the medications that they need at the time that they need it. And I think when we were able to identify the brand archetype, we are now able to move forward and identify what's our brand purpose, what's our brand vision, how would the logo look like, the architecture of it, how would the font look like, the visual part of it. And this is actually part of creating a unique brand identity. But more than that, we stepped and crossed the line. We actually added the above the line ingredients to that, below the line ingredients, and we make sure that in every point, or when patients will actually turn on the radio, we're there. When the patients will go and open the newspapers, we're there. When they will open their mobile phones, our SMSs will be there. They open the email, we're there. They open the TV, we're there. We even go to their companies, right? We even activate events in companies where the doctors will be there to actually talk to the patients. These are for free, right? We're not charging it. We even go to schools, universities, doctors, talking to students, talking about diseases, conditions that are prevalent in the society, topics, diabetes, cancer. We make sure that we are present also in the community. So I think creating a unique brand identity does not stop from just, the traditional above the line, below the line, and the immersiveness, right, makes it more personal. The immersion, the moment that the doctor goes there into the public, talks about, even a simple disease like a varicose vein issue, that already creates a special bond the doctor becomes, you know, the expert in the field, and all women are there listening about varicose veins. And, you know, right after the event or the lecture, I would see a lot of women falling in line, asking the doctor a lot more questions. You know, for I'm sure in your field, this is just a simple activation, but it really works, right? In fact, after that activation, we have a lot of appointments set for that doctor. He's full for the next, you know, 2 weeks probably. So what I'm saying is, creating a unique brand identity requires that you start off with the brand architecture, the archetype, the brand narrative, and then you actually use that to push into different communication channels, right? Above the line, below the line, events, online, social media. And this is something that brands in the service industry are actually very, you know, they could take leverage on this. So yes. Okay, so now we're in the fifth statement. Rachid, this is, okay, so we'd like to ask again the audience. Fifth statement, you should ask your customers about their needs to be able to adapt your offerings to them. You should ask your customers about their needs to be able to adapt your offerings to them. Do you think this is a fact or a myth? Raise of hands if you think this is a fact. Cool. If you think this is a myth, raise your hands. Okay, nice. Rachid?
Okay. Let's start with a little bit of history. There is a statement that people claim Henry Ford said, people claim he didn't say it, so it's still debatable. But the statement is, if I would have asked my customer what they want, they would have wanted faster horses. Right? This is Henry Ford created the cars. So it is a myth. The reality is, if you really want to create and understand what the customer needs, you cannot ask them. You need to try to instill that data and understand it from their behavior. It's behavioral data. A lot of time, what they will tell you is not the reality, right? And as marketer, we are not the psychiatrists. We cannot ask them for 10 sessions, 1 hour each, to arrive to really what they want. So what you need to see is what the behavior is. I'll give you 2 really cool examples. One, we discussed it on Monday, which is how we created the candlelight. If we'd had asked people, how do you want your classic music concert to happen? No one would have came up with that concept. We needed to see how people engaged. Now, let's talk about a completely different one. I believe many of you have been to concerts and have been to a rock concert, right? Think in your mind now, take a 10 seconds to think, what would be the coolest, what do I want in a rock concert? Everyone will have a thought of, and if someone asks you, you'll tell him like, I don't know, I want either like closer to the audience or this or that. The coolest concept we have in rock concert is called Rockin' 1000, where we have a band of 1,000 artists playing at the same time in a stadium. It's mind-blowing. For 1,000 people band. We did it in Rio de Janeiro, we did it in Madrid, we are doing it around the world. If you ask people, how do you want your rock concert to be? No one will tell you, oh, I want 1,000 people. Like, it doesn't make sense. But when you create the concept and you put it there and they are synchronized, trust me, it's goosebump. It's just like you go out of that for such a memorable experience, and we have this with a brand. Like, people were crying in that concert, right? It's unbelievable. You can try to ask them, but in reality, you need to get the information from them. You need to see how they behave, how they interact, you need to observe them, and you need to get that data. I don't know how it works for you, but this is at least from the entertainment industry side.
What I'll be giving as an example is not really healthcare per se, but I think brands in general. There is so much, big buzz about data. You know, you have to analyze your data. When is the best time you post your Facebook post? When is the best time you talk to your customers? When's the best time? But I think it all boils down to us talking to customers, right? Talking to patients, understanding what their needs are. I would give a very concrete example. When the pandemic came and hospitals are way saturated with a lot of patients, right? There was a point in time that our call center is having a huge breakdown because there are a lot of calls, understaffed, right? And people are getting sick because it's pandemic, right? So we had to actually try to devise a way to operationalize our call center without also taking into consideration that we have very limited resources, right? So at that point in time, we have to kind of strategize on the IVR script. We have to revise it such that at the onset we know if this is a pandemic call or if this is a call that actually is for a regular patient, for regular medications, regular treatments and diagnosis. We had to understand, we had to even stretch the call center to 24 hours because at a certain point, we were only operating from, like, let's say 7 to 7 or 7 to 10 in the evening, 10 in the evening. But we have seen that there's a huge, call also going in after 10. So, we had to ask people, we have to observe them, in fact, how the behavior changes at different points in the customer's journey. And, with the pandemic coming in, it was very difficult, but what we realized at that point is customer is really the king. They will tell you when is it that you have to adjust your resources. That is why data and understanding, we had to understand the number of calls that we're receiving at that time. And what do we do with those calls that we are not able to take in? We have to even assign hospitality people who are front-facing because there are they probably at that time we don't have much of them as well. But we have to also take them in after shift to probably call back some of the patients whom we're not able to take in their calls because we are already overloaded. See, some of the calls like happen in the midnight and all the reps are engaged also. So, there's no way that they will be able to call them back. So what I'm saying is, as part of leveraging data, I think it will give us a very good sense of how the customers would probably want us to act as a brand at that point in time and operationalize it on ground level. So that's important, how important data is. So when you take data and put that into your brand story, trust me, we became the #1 go-to hospital at that point in time for both pandemic-infected patients and those who are not pandemic-infected. Because we had to make sure that our operations actually resolve both cases. So I think there's a lot more things that we can learn on this power of immersive storytelling, but we don't have much time. So we'd like to take in a few questions from the audiences. Okay. Brian has a question. Can you please give him the microphone?
Thank you so much for the discussion. It's interesting, but I want to ask specifically about events because I actually ran an event at Dubai Expo for Dubai Chamber of Commerce, and back then it was still pandemic and hybrid events are so popular. But after the pandemic, do you see the online components will stay? And what will be the new format to create an immersive storytelling or immersive conference experience? So I would like to hear your view on this. And what are the new format have you seen in the UAE market?
So what we have seen, thank you so much for the question, is that we have moved back fully into IRL, into in real life experiences. So today, you need to make sure that most of your experience, more of your event is in real life. Of course, people are used to engaging with the digital part. So you can share a lot of the information digitally before the experience, the way to experience, the feedback to the experience. A lot of that could be done digitally. People are so used now to scanning QR codes. That's part of their habit. However, people are really seeking in real life interactions. They still want to meet someone, they want to speak to someone, they want to have that handshake. We lost it for a year or so. So when you are building your event, the focus of the event itself should be in real life. Everything around it could be built in digital. The demand generation, the engagement, all of the related elements could be built on the digital angle, right? So you need to combine both.
Do we have any more questions? Okay. I think we're good.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. It was a lovely session. Thank you.